Hi, good evening, everyone. We're gonna let folks enter in, and then we'll get started shortly with the college essay webinar that I'm hosting tonight. I'm glad that you guys are here. If you know friends of yours that should also be here because they're struggling with writing that college essay, just tell them to come on in. You can share the link. They can also just register on our website. So we want to make sure that you know, this information gets shared with as many people need it. So, feel free to take notes, but obviously this isn't homework. So use it how you'd like today. I will say that we'll use the Q&A function. The chat's been disabled. So we will use that as a means of communicating, asking questions, and we'll just kind of go from there. If you have questions, like I said, that Q&A is going to be your friend, and we'll let folks kind of hustle in the next couple of minutes here before we get started. Yeah. Hope everybody is excited for this webinar. I'm hoping some of you maybe attended last night's. I know that we're excited to continue to share this content. Clearly, you guys keep coming back each year, so it means we're doing something right. And I'm excited to continue to work with y'all this year. Yeah, we'll just give it maybe 1 or 2 more minutes. Yeah, there. This webinar is also being recorded. So if for any reason your friend absolutely couldn't make it today, we know it's a big, heavy sports season. They can for sure catch this next week on our YouTube channel. So yeah. All right. Well, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in and we'll get things started. So I'm Natasha Lemke. I am the Associate Director for Equity and Access in the Office of Admission at Pacific Lutheran University. I recruit and work with students as well. So I was at Lakes High School today. Hopefully, you're connecting with your admission counselors so that beyond things like these webinars, you have the opportunity to connect and to ask whatever's kind of on your mind throughout this college search process. All right, so the hope of this webinar is to assist you in writing with confidence, right? When you're confident about something, that means you feel good about it, and you're not questioning whether or not you did a good job. So hopefully this webinar will help you to build that confidence. All right, let's get to it. So first little bit, why is the essay so important? So the essay is important to universities because it is how we get the opportunity to hear your voice, right? During the review portion of applications, we're looking at all of these other pieces, right? We're looking at data, we're looking at, your grade trend, what courses you're taking. But this is your opportunity for us to tell us your story, to demonstrate your writing skills. It also highlights your creativity, right? We love an essay that allows us to see, hear, feel. Um, it also allows us to see how you think critically, if you're answering the prompts, and it's the one thing that you have control over, right? You don't have control over your transcript. You're not generating that. But when it comes to writing your essay, that is all you. All right. That's why it should be all you. Don't use AI. That's the other thing I want to mention. Uh, it's funny how we can tell when it's AI. So for your own sake, you should be proud of who you are. You should know that universities aren't necessarily looking for one kind of particular student, that it's your uniqueness that we are excited to learn about. So use the essay to tell us yourself who you are. All right. Okay, here we go. All right. One of the easiest things that you can do to kind of help yourself get started is to just start brainstorming. So start to write down those moments in your life where you faced an obstacle but failed and how you overcame it or what you learned from it, right? I like to think of things in terms of like silver linings. Sometimes things that you experience aren't great, but you learn lessons through them, right? How have you grown? All right. And then also think about ways in which you maybe had a belief that was challenged, or you found a new way to look at a situation. Think about when you've maybe experienced something that you've done that made you unexpectedly happy or thankful, right? Those nice surprises. Think about an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth, right? But also know that we're going to see your activity section. Think about how you want to tell your story and what story that is. Don't necessarily concentrate on just absolutely one thing that you did. And we'll talk about the do's and don'ts. So let me just focus on this for now. You can also think about when you were so captivated by a topic, right? Maybe that's when you discovered what you wanted to study, what you love learning about. And then you can also feel free to tell us about how your identity or your background or interest or talent has impacted who you are today. So these are some great ways to start. And it's also fair to say that when you start, that doesn't have to be the one thing that you stick to, right? It's okay to play with different ideas and see what forms naturally. All right. Other ways that you can do this is you can start to think about what are your favorite things, right? Did you have a really memorable vacation or an unusual trip? Is there someone that you look up to or someone that you receive mentorship from? Do you have an extracurricular hobby or activity that you're passionate about? Thinking about what do you like to do in your spare time, that can really inform how you'll experience college, right? And a fun one, do you have a guilty pleasure, right? Currently watching Love Island. I'm watching a few other shows. I also have a 16-year-old, so that might give you some context. But thinking about the things that, are exciting for you to write about. Do you have a go-to book, author, movie, or music, right? But I will add this. I did read an essay one time that was fully Michael Jackson lyrics. And I kid you not, I ended up learning nothing about that student. So remember, you have to circle it back to yourself. All right. Are there certain personality traits that you feel make you unique? Is there a personal symbol or object that reflects you, right? Kind of think about when you forget yourself, is there something that reminds you and kind of brings you back? You can even look at the stickers on your water bottle, right? Think about all kinds of things, right? You're just starting from this large space until you narrow it down. Okay, so now we'll talk about the do's of essay writing. 1, answer the prompt. Okay, if you are writing an essay, especially Common App, right? Common App, I think, offers 7 different prompts, one of them being choose your own pathway. But it's in your best interest, I think, to answer the prompt. So think about, what is it asking you? Did you get to that point in your essay, or did you veer off in another direction, right? Stay on track. Also, follow the directions. Word count, for example. You don't need to double space it or triple space it to make it look longer, right? I think 750 words is good, right? Making it succinct, making sure that it makes sense. Have a good first sentence, right? Think of anytime you've been pulled into a story or an opening movie line, right? What's something that got you hooked? Again, be yourself. We want to know who you are. We've been able to see all those other bits of you in the other parts of your application. Again, this is your opportunity for you to tell us who you are. Again, that's all about authenticity. And then if you can use imagery and be clear, make it vivid, that gets exciting for us. Think about a time when you got stuck in a book and it was just, it captured you, right? We want to be captured as admission counselors. We want to feel like we are reading something that we don't want to put down, right? And then make sure that you have a conclusion that ties up your story. All right. So tip number 1, be specific. Okay. I'm going to read out this example and you'll get a chance to kind of see some differences, right? First one is, I want to help people I've gotten so much out of life through the love and guidance of my family. I feel that many individuals have not been as fortunate. Therefore, I would like to expand the lives of others. That's pretty broad. I haven't kind of really learned about that student. I have, but it's like, it's a lot of words that didn't give me any real details. Okay. Then this one says, my mom and dad stood on plenty of sidelines till their shoes filled with water or their fingers turned white or somebody's golden retriever signed his name on their coats in mud. I think that kind of commitment is what I'd like to bring to working with fourth graders, right? So if you've played soccer or an outdoor sport and you've had, your family or friends there to kind of like cheer you on, that's commitment, right? When you're on the field, it's one thing. When you're on the sidelines, it's another. I want you to think of your admission counselor as that person on the sidelines. So we are looking forward to seeing what you're presenting to us. And this student did that. They showed us. They made me think about those times when my fingers have turned white, right? They reminded me of my dog jumping on me, right? So they opened up something that I was able to in turn witness from their story. So, and you're all going to have different styles, right? So you don't have to write it exactly like this. We wouldn't want that, obviously, because we want it to be unique to you. All right, tip number 2. Do remember to get to the point. Okay, so here's another one. Over the years, it has been pointed out to me by my parents, friends, and teachers, and I've even noticed this about myself as well. I am not the neatest person in the world. Again, lots of words, lots of what we call filler words, right? This person says, I'm a messy person. Actually, now that's kind of piqued my curiosity. I'm interested to know, where is this story going to go? Instead of, why did they feel the need to tell me all of those words when they could have just said it this way, right? So it's not about trying to stretch the word count. If you're having a hard time telling your story, try another prompt, right? You want to make sure that it comes easy for you. Maybe you need some inspiration. Maybe you're having a brainstorming session with your other friends who are also applying to colleges and writing essays, right? It's okay to start with one thing, scrap it, and then start with something else. But also, if you are that person that's a perfectionist, take it to your English teacher, okay? Take it to your college and career counselor. Maybe you already have a really great essay. So don't second guess yourself in that way. Always ask a well-known adult to maybe take a second look. And if you are asking questions in the Q&A, I will most definitely get to those. I'm just operating as one person, and my second screen didn't want to cooperate today. So you're getting me and my disappearing bun. All right. Tip number 3, know your audience. Okay. Your audience in this case is your admission counselor. That's one of the biggest, I think, tips that I could possibly give you. By knowing your audience, you're knowing why you're telling your story, right? We're not just asking you to write a paper, right? This isn't a high school assignment and you're just trying to pass a class, all right? You are trying to make sure that you're giving us information that is, again, unique to you, that lets us get to know you better, right? Lets us get to know what your hopes and dreams and goals are. And if it's not focusing on those things, if you are, essentially going off on tangents on things that, don't necessarily coordinate with your essay or with your with the paper that you're writing, you want to make sure that it's supplemental to the rest of your application. Okay. You can talk about other people, but make sure that you center yourself. I've read many essays about grandparents, parents that strive to make a better life for their children, and sometimes that becomes the focus of the essay. Now, on the flip side, I think it was last year, maybe the year before, I did read an essay that was told from the perspective of the student's dog. And that was pretty interesting. They used excitement, and you knew that it was just the perspective. It's what the dog was seeing, which is out of the ordinary, but it's a creative way to, again, tell that story. So just remember, you're writing it for the purpose of getting admitted to a college or university. Okay. These are our cautionary tales. Again, remember your audience. We can see your activity section. We are able to see your courses, right? We don't need your essay to read like a resume. That's what the rest of your application is essentially for, right? Then there's the tragedy essay. We know that kids have gone through some tough times, right? We don't want to have a therapy appointment after reading your essay. Okay. So remember, like, share as much as you're comfortable, but try to remember we're reading hundreds of these essentially. And so if we have to, take a break after the first 5 because they are all really super duper sad, that makes it harder for us to get to the other students who are also telling their stories. All right, then there's the sports essay. We know we have a lot of student athletes who maybe, had a winning game experience or, broke a thumb and it was absolutely terrible. But remember, you're writing it for the admission counselor, not necessarily the coach. So those types of essays might appeal more to coaching staff, but we're the ones that are looking for the academic side of things, okay? Also, there's the Save the World essay, right? Those can be pretty common. And so if you want to save the world, tell me exactly how you want to do that. Tell me what your plan is. And that will help me to potentially tie it into, or you can tie it into what you're wanting to focus on academically. COVID-19 essay. The reason why we say don't write about this is because we've been reading about this now for the last 3-4 years, and lots of students shared very similar experiences. So it doesn't make your essay unique. Okay. And then there's a kitchen sink essay. That's the one where you're just trying to throw everything in. Okay. We love kitchen sink cookies, right? Those are great, very tasty. But when it comes to essays, we just, follow those prompts, right? You don't have to go and tell us everything from 5th grade on, right? As a matter of fact, I would focus it on high school if you can, because unless you're going to tie in an experience into what's bringing you to your academic focus coming in. And then there's the most important thing in my life essay or the book report essay. So again, let's just make sure that you're writing the essay that's going to tell us all of the things that like make you hopeful or if you want to be an activist, let's just stay away from I'm just writing this because I have to, right? We can sense that when we're reading it. All right. Okay. Now I've got some wonderful tips. It is okay to use the same essay from multiple colleges. I will say it does make me sad when I read a really great essay and then at the end of it, it says, and this is why I'm so excited to attend such and such university, and it's not PLU. That's just messy, okay? That lets me know that PLU isn't your number one. And we want to know that you're just as excited applying to PLU as you are to all of the other places that you're applying to. Also, again, don't be afraid to rewrite it, to revise it, to start over, to take things out where you're like, oh, I already said that. If you're like, oh, I feel like this isn't quite hitting where I'm wanting it to, think about what you could add to make that feel complete. And also looking at the details that you're using in your essay, does it tell us, or are you able to maybe flip it around so now we can see what you're talking about? Oh, don't to slow rise. So that means don't go in and use one word and then keep using that same word, but just different versions of it. Think of maybe that sentence as a whole needs to be a little more creative. Again, center yourself. Don't use AI. Use the additional information and challenges and circumstance sections if you needed, right? So if you had a hard semester, right? It's helpful for you to tell us that. It doesn't have to be your whole essay though, right? So that can be where you address that, right? It is helpful for you to mention it, right? If we can see it in your transcript, that means that we know, but we don't know why. So again, you don't have to turn it into that tragedy thing. It can be really short. It just gives us some context, and we are big at looking for those context clues. That really helps us as we are continuing to read your essay. Remember to take your time, right? Start thinking about those deadlines. All right. So, applications are going to start coming due, right? We're still early. So, this is a great time to be attending things like workshops and checking in with your English teachers so that you don't have to feel like you're rushing through it. Okay. Being able to take your time also means that you're going to have that time to go back in and take a second look, maybe, 5 days later when it feels fresh again and now you're catching new things. Okay. And also, I cannot read that last slide because my thing's in the way. But remember, I'm going to assume that that's it. Remember that, you don't have to follow these rules to a T, but they are helpful for you. Okay. All right, this is my favorite one. Before you hit submit, please proofread your essay. It's very helpful to you. I recently was working with some of my interns and I asked them to let me know, like, hey, what is something that you're looking forward to or something that you like to celebrate yourself? And I heard sweat treats. I was like, oh, I don't think they meant sweat treats. So really make sure that you're going through. If Microsoft doesn't catch it, if Google doesn't catch it, it doesn't mean it's not there. Okay. One of the biggest things that my English teacher mentioned to me was read the words backwards sometimes. That's going to let you know if you catch an error as well. There's some creative ways to do that checking. Again, give your draft to others. That's going to help you get some feedback, right? And then again, those college counselors, teachers, if you're kind of nervous to share it with folks, you can also read it out loud to your pet. Sometimes that feels more safe and allows you to feel more confident. And you can also ask your admission counselor, right? We do lots of in-person visits to high schools. You can even chat with us, if you're coming to PLU for a visit. If you want to stop by for one of our visits, you just schedule that through our website, but you could bring a copy of your essay then, right? Just take those opportunities when they arise, and most definitely proofread it before you hit submit. All right. If you are still like, man, I'm trying my hardest and I'm not able to drum up ideas, these are some great resources to use. Okay. College Essay Guy is pretty awesome. Then you've got college websites like niche.com. Google is helpful. You can Google, different essay topics or, watch this webinar again, any kind of resource that's going to help you to feel like you're confident in writing this. And then we also have a wonderful admission blog. You can go to that website or you can literally just Google PLU admission blog. And there is an article in there about 5 tips for writing a college essay. So check that out. There's some other fun blogs in there as well. Those are written by our staff, faculty, and students as well. All right, I'm gonna pause here, see what questions are coming up in the Q&A. Okay, First question is, would it be better to write about a specific moment or story, or more like a persuasive paper such as 3 reasons why I'm like this? I think either one of those choices is great. I would say start writing about one, see if you like how it flows. You can start writing about the other and then see which one you like better. I don't think either one of those is a bad idea. Um, and then we have what topics slash themes would be good if we have to stray away from many topics? That's a tough one. I'm gonna guess that is from the don't slide. I would say you still have a lot of really good choices. There's also different ways to tell stories, right? So we talked about like that silver lining piece. So maybe you did go through a traumatic experience, and maybe now that's informed why you want to be a social worker. And maybe you're thinking a little bit more future centered instead of, centered in the past. And that will help us to get excited about reading that essay as opposed to potentially feeling down afterwards. Do I have any thoughts on the nursing program that is not stated on the website page? That's an interesting question. I know that we do have first year nursing. We've got a bunch of different nursing pages that you can check out on our website. I would say if you're having issues getting access to information for any reason, definitely reach out to your admission counselor. You all have one for PLU. You can even just Google PLU admission counselors and we can answer those questions for you. And let's see. I heard some connection thing that Bellarmine might be partnering with PLU. I'm not familiar with that, but I don't work with Bellarmine High School. So we do have a admission counselor. Her name is Hillary Powell, and she does work with all of our Tacoma private schools. So I would check with Hillary and see if there is something that maybe they're planning on running together that would be a good thing for you to attend. All right. All right. Should our college essay be more about who we are today or who we want to be in the future? Again, I would say that one is definitely up to you. I mentioned it might be better to get a little bit future centered with a traumatic essay. So in this case, if you are, I mean, we're all in different stages of our lives. And if this stage that you're currently in feels like a really, really important one, and obviously it's a big one for you, feel free to live in the now, right? And just think about how you want to tell that story to us. All right. Now we have some other ways where you can be the best applicant. That's going to be to apply early. And the reason I say that is because you're all here, you're all early. There's no reason to have an essay that you feel good about and wait until the last second to submit it. Doing that sometimes can mean that you miss out on scholarship opportunities, and that you're holding yourself back when you really should just be jumping right in. Also, remember that the rigor of coursework that you choose in your senior year still matters to us. So we want to know that as you're going into this year, that you're still very serious about your academics. Does not mean that every single class has to be an AP class. It just means that make sure that you're still using some of that academic focus to help you prepare for college. Also, if you have opportunities to get involved, that's going to be good for your networking, building those social skills before you get to college. You might actually learn some things and share some experiences in your senior year that you wouldn't have had if you didn't get involved. Visit the campus, and yes, we can see this. We can see when you visit PLU. We are very connected to our students that we work with, each of us. And so we want to know that, yes, you're visiting, you're attending webinars, you're staying connected, and you should also visit colleges in general because that's how you're going to be able to figure out what feels like the best fit. I will say that we are having our big fall preview day on November 11th, which is a no school day. It's no school for you, but we're open. And that's a great way for us to make it kind of low pressure for you to be able to come through and hang out with us for a day. So look out for that on our visit website. Okay, other ways to be a great applicant is to be in charge of the process, right? Have fun, right? If you're really excited about writing about something and that absolutely feels like the thing that is the most important thing you want to tell, go with it. If it's, one where, your parent wants you to talk about something that's particular to what they hope for you, we want to hear from you. So remember that you're the one that's in charge of this. And then also remember that you need to breathe, right? Senior year is supposed to be fun, right? That's why starting early can be helpful because it does help to reduce some of the stress that starts to accrue if you start to put things off, right? You don't have to do everything all at once, but allowing yourself that space to kind of relax through it is going to help you to feel confident and not like you're in a hurry, right? May 1st is National College Decision Day. So put that on your calendars. That's what you're striving for. You're thinking, okay, I'm testing out different colleges, I'm visiting, I'm connecting with my admission counselor. And because of this, I'm going to feel very prepared when it comes to May 1st. Okay? All right, I did see some things come up in the Q&A, so let's see what questions we have now. So let's see. Should a learning disability such as ADHD be added to the special circumstances section? So it depends on if you feel like that needs to be a part of your story. If you're looking for things like accommodations, you don't necessarily have, we wouldn't necessarily put that in your essay. Accommodations is separate from the application process. So if you do have questions about, what would it look like to have accommodations for ADHD and attend Pacific Lutheran University, we can also get you in touch with Weezer, who is our Wellness Student Resource Center. And they are always willing to talk with students before they choose PLU so that they have an idea of what those kind of accommodations look like and what life at PLU would look like. Okay. It says, is it bad that I'm not taking a senior math or science class? I took the required classes though. I would say, if you've taken the required classes, that's okay. I would say, thinking about what you want to study, if that is something that's going to be very heavy math and science, you might want to rethink that. You might want to think about, okay, well, yeah, if I have to go to college and do college math, maybe pre-calculus isn't a bad idea. If I want to become a nurse, yeah, most definitely taking that biology or that AP bio or chemistry or physics could definitely be helpful. So it's not so much thinking about, it's also thinking about how am I setting myself up for the next step? And if you haven't connected with your high school counselor, they're ones that also can help review your records and give you advice as well. So use all of your connections. All right, and then I'm seeing, does PLU accept Central Washington University, Eastern Washington University College in the classroom or college in the high school? How do I tell colleges about AP and dual enrollment credits? How do they transfer? What do these credits do for me? So the answer to that initial question is yes, as long as it is, of course, 100 level or above course. You don't need to tell colleges that you have taken AP classes or that you've done Running Start. That doesn't need to be part of your story because it's part of your transcript. So there are ways for us to see within your transcripts how or what level of courses you took. So if you took honors, we look at that. AP, same. IB, Cambridge, all of that. How they transfer varies. So that's kind of a more, I'd say, in-depth question. They transfer by, I guess, really at the end of it, making sure that if you've taken AP exams, you're sending those scores. And the good news is, with this being a lot of information, you don't have to remember all of it right now because you wouldn't start sending scores now. None of that will start happening until a little bit later in the year. So just remember that part. And then what do the credits do for you? In some cases, they can help to take care of your general education courses. They can help you to feel like you're also more prepared, right, for the subjects that you want to go into. And I think they're just affirming that you're ready for college. So if you haven't taken those classes, that's also okay. All right. We, at this point with the college essay, we just want to make sure that we're getting the chance to know you, right? PLU wants to admit students. Our goal is not to gatekeep and try to keep students out of the picture. We definitely want to see students on our campus living their best lives and just enjoying that next journey of their lives. All right, let's see. I have another question here. It is college and high school or AP better? What if I take an AP class as a dual credit? Do I still take the AP test? I would say neither are better or worse. It's just a different learning style. One, you're going to automatically get that college credit for college and the high school as long as that course is one that is transferable. AP is one where we weight your GPA for that, so that could help your GPA, but you have to take the exam in order for it to count as college credit. Okay. And then you don't have to take the AP test. PLU doesn't require test scores. We don't look at test scores as part of our admission decision process. So I'd say do what you're most comfortable with. If you don't want the added stress of having to take another exam this year, look at the other colleges and what they require, and that will help you to determine whether or not you should proceed with letting it be or continuing forward. All right, and I am going to ask this question because I'm getting a lot of questions on things outside of the essay. So definitely want to make sure that we are focusing on this portion and acknowledging that we are going to have opportunities to meet with you in your schools. So keep an eye out for things like posters on PLU visiting. We run workshops at the high school. You'll also have chances to interact with us during our large events if you register for those. And you have your one-on-one college admission counselor for PLU. So you have the opportunity to call us, to text us, to email us, and we will respond to you. I think that's one of the things that brings me joy about working for a smaller school is that we are able to, like I said, build that one-on-one connection where, excuse me, we can answer those questions. We will do it between 8 and 5, Monday through Friday. Because we are not Autobots and we do go to sleep and go home with our families. But if you do text us, we will get back to you the next time we're in the office. All right, and last thing, let's see, do colleges see first semester senior grades before acceptance? It depends on when you apply. So if you're applying early, then we are only seeing courses through the end of your junior year. If you are applying later because you're hoping to increase your GPA, then you can, then by then we may have your first semester grades. So yeah, I would definitely say connect with your admission counselors, let them know what questions you have, and we are more than happy to work with you this year, and we wouldn't do this work if we didn't love it. So I do want to say that it's been great having you all join, and we're looking forward to, learning more about you through the college essay that you're going to write. That's going to be phenomenal. And I want to say good night. And again, thanks for coming. We will hopefully see you at our next in-person event or on one of our next webinars. Bye.